A man opposed to join South Korean and U.S. military drills attacked the American ambassador in Seoul, Mark Lippert, slashing his face and wrist minutes before giving a speech Thursday morning. North Korea quickly called the stabbing a knife attack of justice and said it reflected the anti-U.S. sentiment that is present in South Korea and that it was a righteous punishment to the U.S. Lippert was attacked while attending an event organized by the Korean Council for Reconciliation and Cooperation, which advocates for the reunification of both Koreas. The assailant was at a different table in the same event, got up from his seat and ran toward the ambassador while shouting "No to war training" and other anti-U.S. remarks. Nick, he used a fruit knife, of all things. And this character called Kim Ki-young, the suspect, he is known by South Korean authorities because in the past he's been very vocal about reunification ideas, and he had traveled to North Korea several times. So he's already in a watch list. Obviously, North Korea celebrated the event, which is, expected from their political position. But it's sad what is going on.
It's always sad to see a country come out and praise terrorist attacks, no matter how big they are, small they are. But again, it's kind of surprising that A, that they let this guy in there, and B, that he was able to smuggle a fruit knife, which was 10 inches long, just one table away from
an ambassador.
From an ambassador. That's kind of...
We'll talk about the security of the ambassador, but what I want to touch is that this incident opens a really deep political wound for both Koreas. Since the 50s, from when the Korean War happened, they've been in this conflict where there's population in South Korea that thinks that they should reunify. And technically the war is not over because it ended up in an armistice and not a peace treaty. So technically the war is still just on hold. Some South Koreans blame the presence of 28,500 U.S. troops in this border as the main reason for why the peninsula can't unify. How much is this South Korean population, and was there reunification? Well, they say that up to 40% of the youngest, kind of the millennial generation of South Korea supports reunification, and about 20% of teenagers. This is way higher than older generations that have little to no support to the idea of reunification. Some argue that it's the lack of historic memory, that they were not alive when this happened, so they don't have a clear memory of the violence and pain that the war brought to the peninsula. It's good to know that this is one of the heaviest armed borders in the world.
Yeah. What you said about the younger generations, that's kind of surprising that only 40% though would want to see the unification for a few reasons. You said that they're too young and they might not be able to remember, these things because they were either really young or they actually weren't even born yet. But it's like you think, since they're living in a pretty well-off country, a pretty prosperous place, you'd think that these people who are divided by simply a border, genetically they're the same, they were once the same country, they don't really see much reason for them to unify again. I mean, you'd think that more would, but who knows? I'm not from Korea, so I can't really talk, but...
I think that the polarization in between the North and the South is very clear, where in North Korea, they are living in a very oppressive regime. In South Korea, there's the U.S. influence and the openness of Western world. So I think that although they do have these new ideas of unification, they're also very influenced by the West. Yeah. And then they're used to the comforts of the West. So at the same time, to imagine to marry that to the oppressive nature of the North regime, that's hard. But let's go back to talk about security. How is it possible that in an event that is happening on such a divisive issue as the reunification of two countries, there's only 3 security members watching the the safety of a U.S. ambassador? I think that's, it's good to remember that less than 30 months ago we were talking about the death of an ambassador in Benghazi. And still, we haven't seen that there's a protocol or a different approach to the security of the diplomats around the world.
I think they probably thought, this isn't Benghazi, this is Korea, we're safe here. shouldn't be an issue, but apparently it is. You never know when these kinds of things will happen. But at the same time, it's like you are at an event which is speaking up for an issue that a lot of people are angry about. Why aren't they checking people? Why can someone come in with a 10-inch long fruit knife? That's ridiculous. That's crazy. But I mean, I don't know the venue where it took place. I don't know what kind of place. Maybe a hotel, maybe this or that.
I think the problem is the idea that because they are in South Korea and there's a low level of terrorism threat, they are more lax. But at the same time, this is proof that it can happen anywhere, and that maybe there's, like they say, an anti-U.S. sentiment starting to grow again in different parts of the country, and they are not taking that in account.
Do you think that he did this more as like a statement? He didn't want to kill him.
I'm pretty sure this is a political statement. I don't think
probably could have killed him. He slashed away. He didn't stab him.
You know, maybe 5 inches below, and he will get the main artery in the neck, and he will be, you know, it will be a completely more disturbing story. But thank God he's doing okay. He underwent surgery. He needed 80 stitches to get it covered. He got nerve damage repair on the wrist, but now he's doing well. He actually went to Twitter and expressed his good spirit. So let us know in the comments, what do you think? Do you think that the diplomats lack security around the world? And maybe also weigh your opinion on the reunification of both Koreas. And if you haven't, subscribe to the Lip TV.